Welcome back to another midnight session on Midnight Crime Anima. You know, the story of Jeffrey Epstein, it doesn't really start with all the headlines from the 2000s. No, it begins way earlier, in the quiet hum of a private hangar back in 1995. So tonight, let's just cut through all the noise. We're going to focus on the very first drops of ink in a logbook, the first moves in a game that would last for decades.
On paper, it's just a Gulfstream II jet, tail number N908JE. To the FAA, it's nothing more than a simple record of dates and destinations. But to us, well, this logbook is the Rosetta Stone of a criminal enterprise. We're not just looking at a list of flights here. We are looking at the founding members of an orbit that would pull the rich and powerful into its darkness for years to come. Because this jet, this simple collection of metal and wires, would eventually be given a name that, well, it still sends a chill down your spine. History wouldn't remember it as N908JE. It would come to be known as the Lolita Express. And its story, our story tonight, it doesn't begin with the crimes. It begins with the very first names written on its passenger manifests.
To really understand this network, you have to go all the way back to the beginning, the very first pages, the first entry, and you have to look at this from a profiling perspective. This isn't just a record of travel. These first entries are a mission statement. I mean, they're a blueprint for an empire being built piece by piece long before anyone was even watching. The whole foundation was laid in just 5 days. November 1995, 2 flights. That's all it took. And look how close those dates are. This isn't random. 2 flights, 2 completely different sets of passengers, and you can bet each one was chosen for a very specific purpose. This is the architectural phase of the whole operation. Okay, so November 21st, Teterboro, New Jersey, down to Palm Beach. On board with Epstein is the billionaire hedge fund manager Glenn Dubin and his wife Eva, who was a doctor and a former Miss Sweden. Now think about the optics here. This isn't just a trip, it's a performance. He's crafting his image. He's not just flying with money, he's flying with this established mix of finance, European glamour, and academic credibility. It's a totally calculated move.
And that's a really fascinating manifest for 95. I mean, Epstein was already rich. He could buy pretty much anything he wanted. So you have to ask yourself, what did the Dubins have that money couldn't buy? What was he really after?
One word: legitimacy. The Dubins were his stamp of approval. Flying with them wasn't about friendship, it was an endorsement. It sent a clear message to the rest of their world: he is one of us. He was buying social capital.
So he secures his public face. Then, just 5 days later, he gets his operational core together. And the reason for this next flight was completely different. This wasn't about appearances, this was about the mechanics of the operation.
November 26th, the manifest now has 2 critical names: Alan Greenberg, the head of Bear Stearns, and a name that will become infamous in this whole saga: Ghislaine Maxwell. And right there, you have it. That's the structure. Greenberg is the pipeline to the financial engine of Wall Street. Maxwell is the key to a global network of social elites. And Epstein, well, he's the spider in the center of it all, connecting every strand of the web.
So are we really supposed to believe this was just a trip? A group of powerful friends just sharing a private jet? Or are we looking at the official assembly of a deliberate, functional unit? To me, this looks like a board meeting.
We call it the 1995 Trinity. You have finance through Greenberg, high society through Maxwell, and Epstein as the facilitator, pulling all the strings. By the end of November 1995, this network was fully operational, a machine running in the shadows long before the world even knew to look for it.
Which brings us right back to the jet itself. It's easy to get caught up in the names on the list, but we have to treat this Gulfstream as more than just a place. It was an instrument, a key piece of the operational hardware. Just think about what a private jet at 40,000 feet really offers. It's a space with no laws, no oversight. It's a mobile sanctuary. Between 95 and 98, that jet moved between its key locations like a ghost ship. It wasn't just transporting people, it was transporting secrets. It was a sealed environment where the real business got done, far above anyone's jurisdiction.
So when you see a name on these 1995 logs, you need to understand they aren't just a guest, they're a founder. Their presence on that manifest is not an accident, it's an initiation. These early logs, they aren't just lists, they are blueprints of loyalty.
So why does a logbook from nearly 3 decades ago still matter now? Because the wheels of justice, they turn slowly. When more of these documents are eventually unsealed, and there will be, investigators aren't going to start in the 2000s. They're going to start right here, page 1,
November 1995. That date is everything, because these manifests completely dismantle the single most common defense we've heard for years. I barely knew him. This logbook proves that's a lie. If your name is on this list, you are not a casual acquaintance. You were a founding member. You were there from the very beginning. People can lie, memories can be changed, but the ink on the paper, that remains. In 1995, the engines on N908JE started up, and now, all these decades later, that paper trail has become a witness that can't be intimidated, and it cannot be silenced.
The 1995 logs were only the beginning. Thank you to all the armchair detectives for joining this midnight session. We'll leave you with this to think about. At what exact moment does a private jet, just a simple business tool, cross the line and become a mobile crime scene? Join us next time.